I'm Jeff Nesin. I am the Provost of School of Visual Arts, your host today and tomorrow. I'm also the president of the Visual Arts Foundation, which is helping with financing of this fabulous undertaking. And I'm enormously happy to see you here and enormously grateful to Christian and his extraordinary small staff for sharing their thoughts and organizing this in a much wider scope. Some years ago, the writer David Levi-Strauss recommended Christian to me. He said Christian wanted to come and see me, and I asked. David runs a graduate program at SVA in art writing, and so I called up recovering museum director David Ross, who also runs a graduate program at SVA, and he said he endorsed Christian, and I called up the hard-traveling critic and curator Stephen Henry Madoff, who also runs a graduate program at SVA, and everybody said Christian is a fabulous, thoughtful, and responsible person. I was just saying to him, once I realized I could trust him, look what happened. This is really a glorious, glorious undertaking. I had never even thought about artists' foundations except as they were incidentally in the news from very far away, like the mess with the Rothko family or something like that. They seem to be a minuscule part of the world that I participated in. And a few years ago, an old colleague, another recovering college president who had previously worked for the Ford Foundation, came to see me, and she was now working on an initiative for the Aspen Foundation and artists' family foundations, how to help them organize, how to help them think about themselves. And that was the first time that was really only a few years ago. Now, I'm probably much slower than the majority of people in the room, but still, this is a fairly new phenomenon, and it has pretty stark dimensions. I read last week that the Giacometti Foundation, through their new Giacometti Institute, will recreate the artist's magnificently messy studio that we all know from the Cartier-Bresson photographs. Thomas Hardy wrote at the end of the last century, "Fair prospects wed happily with fair times." I just heard also that the Twombly Foundation is considering something along the Giacometti lines as well. I'm sure many of you here today have spent time in the remarkable survey of Twombly's drawings just a few blocks to our west, an arc of making and thinking, of exploration and celebration that seems altogether alive, as if Twombly were reading in the back room. And since he didn't like disclosing much anyway, there it is, take it or leave it. But the full quote from Return of the Native is, "Fair prospects wed happily with fair times, but alas, if times be not fair." Nearly 30 years ago, I was invited to speak in Oxford, Mississippi, and I made a little time to visit Roanoke, William Faulkner's home. It was eerily open and unstaffed. I just walked in, opened the door, and wandered around, showed myself around. I was struck by an unforgettable tableau. On the living room floor was a group of empty liquor bottles and 3 shotguns, as if Mr. Faulkner had just gone to the bathroom, and there I was waiting for him to reemerge. take much, and seeing the title of what Christian is going to remark upon, art without the artist, is that really is that really what he wanted me to be thinking about? I'm not sure. It was actually a little frightening, more than I wanted to know about him. My best guess was that a heedless nephew had charge of the house. I slipped out and only returned some years later after the university had taken charge and removed all the dirty laundry. They had made it look like a house museum, an historical reproduction, not a human habitation. Most important, in neither case, not the before or the after, was I the guest of a William Faulkner Foundation, which leads us to today and tomorrow, to body of work, carefully constructed days. As with the inaugural symposium First Crack, Contemporary Conservation has assembled a remarkable group of experts to explore this fast-growing and sometimes rugged terrain underlying the creation and the missions of artists and their foundations, a new constellation of issues and possibilities. Essentially, everyone here over the next 2 days is focused on aspects of maintaining the integrity of works of art to the highest degree possible, all striving to protect and preserve a unique knowledge base. In higher education, we're all about mission. And to me, I spent time thinking about that sentence. Maintaining the integrity of works of art to the highest degree possible. After the fact, before the fact, whenever. What could be more appropriate or more necessary at this time? So, again, on behalf of School of Visual Arts, I welcome you to 2 days of discovery. Your host and guide, Christian Scheidemann.